the audio's not so hot this time. I think we're going. My workbench faces the opposite way from the chat, but I will try and come back over here and look at the chat every once in a while. So, and you can probably hear the 3D printer running in the background, so that's going to just be annoying noise. Put my glasses up there. So what we have, last time we were doing these fast track turnouts, and I came to the realization that my normal throw bar material, my normal tie material, the 062 thick, was not going to be right for these, so I was going to have to make some throw bars. And I thought that I couldn't drill that hole. Okay, if you can see that, there's a little teeny hole in there. So that is a 0.8 millimeter, or if you want it in regular, 31 thousandths diameter hole. This is an old little manual drill, crank drill that I got at Radio Shack a long time ago. Has a little storage for drill bits in there. What I tried to do was take some of my PC board material and take it to work and mill it down in thickness, which kind of worked, but not as well as I had hoped. So what I thought I'd do today was just try and drill some holes by hand in these throw bars, and so far it's working pretty good. If I wasn't down to just one printer, which it's busy printing leg pockets right now, I would make myself a little drill guide that fits over these ties to help me hold it in the center. But what I did to do this first one was I took my little awl and I measured out with my calipers. This is 0.936, so I set it to 0.460-ish. And then I just scribed a little mark across there, and to try and get it in the center. Then just eyeball with my magnifier. Where is my magnifier? Right there. So then I came in with my magnifier lens. Hopefully I'm in frame here-ish. And picked up my little mark and just tried to eyeball it into the center there. And just make a little dimple for my drill to follow. Now, little drills get dull pretty rapidly, and I'm sorry if I have a cold, so you're going to get some sniffling here. And I don't have a mute button on this camera. So little drill bits will dull fairly quickly drilling through PC material. So what I have is a little stone that I can touch up the edges, and I need magnification to do this. So I have no doubt that that's blurry, but it's clear for me. So I'm holding it at an angle, and I'm just going to take and just a few little swipes and rotate this 180 and try and hold it at the same angle. And we're just going to touch up that edge just a little bit. Most important thing is that you keep the center. So when I look at the flutes here, make sure that the point remains in the center of the bit. Now it's pretty sharp. So then I have my little pan of ice, and this may be a little far away for you guys to see, but it gives me a nice sturdy, secure place to hold this. And then this is just a little serving tray for like breakfast in bed, and it's just the right height that I can get my vise nice and close, get my point in my little hole that I made, and now I can rest my hand on here to hold this stable while I drill. And so I can keep the drill straight up and down, and then clear my hole every so often. So once I've got the first hole made, and make sure it goes through the, it doesn't take very long. Once I make sure that the first hole's through, and it's centered on the little tie, top and bottom, so I didn't drill at an angle, I have a second pin vise here set up with a slightly larger drill bit. Then I'll go through, and the side that I came through the tie, I burnish. Whoops. I was doing this a lot better before. Yep. Burnish the exit just a little bit, so it takes it off around there. But that's where the throw rod from the switch machine or the servo or whatever you're going to use to control these things with. Then I burnish that off. Now that I've got one hole through, and this is my first part, this is the one I was lining up with, so then I will just take all the rest of my ties, and I'm going to use this as a little drill jig. Then I don't have to lay everyone out, just line them up even. I'll put them in here, tighten that down, and then I just use this hole that I just finished drilling in the previous tie to get the next one started. And you can drill all the way through. Just be aware, sometimes it catches, so that's why you clear your hole often, because the fiberglass kind of expands. It makes kind of a powder, it doesn't really make a chip, and it kind of tends to bind the drill bit in the material. And then you can keep a little toothbrush handy, or a little stainless steel wire brush, whatever, just to keep the flutes clean. When you're working with plastic and soft materials, the little drill bits tend to gum up, so you kind of want to keep them as clean as possible, and it makes them cut freer. And when things cut freely and you're not having to fight the tools to get your work done, your work turns out a lot better, because you're not wiggling around, you're not putting in excess force. I'm just turning the crank and putting a little downward pressure and trying to hold that drill steady. So you just deburr them like that. You want to make sure they're smooth, because these are going to be the parts that go here at the points to move our points. So I'm going to finish drilling all these. I think I have enough. Should have 16. 4, 8, 12. Oh, I need a couple more. Let's see if I got some more material down here. I do. Sorry, I might be snuffleupagus again here. We'll cut off these end ones. This is what I'm making it. These are the copperhead PC ties from Fast Tracks. And then to cut them to length, oops, since I'm right-handed, let's face them the right way. You guys are watching me upside down. So we'll just make a mark. Snip it off at the mark. Toss away the little junk piece. I try to make my cuts as clean as possible, as square as possible. If they're not quite square, just take your little needle file and true up the end so you get a nice square end. If you feel any burrs, take them off. We'll do the same thing, just over and over and over again. So I got 16 of these number 6 turnouts here, and then I've got 3 of the number 7 turnouts here, and I've got an extra one of those that is on the layout already out in the garage, and so we'll make those throw bars as well. We're not going to use this material for those. We'll use the 062 or 063 material that I have. Cut up there. And then we'll start soldering them on. Hi there, dear.
You anywhere near Canada Bush?
Not right yet. Maybe, what time is it? 2?
Just after 1.
Just after 1?
So 11 or so after 1.
Yeah, maybe an hour. I just finished the last of the coffee. Well, there's probably a half a dribble in the pot there.
Okay.
So. Okie dokie. Alright. So, deburr everything. I like building in, what do you call it, assembly line fashion. I know it can be a little tedious, but to me it gets more tedious if you have to go back and forth. So like right now I've got the drill set up, got all these trimmed to length, got my vise in position, everything's in position. I don't have to worry about a hot iron and knocking stuff over and things like that. So once I get done doing all the drilling, deburring, you know, just go in stages. Makes a nice little sub project, and to me it keeps me organized, because I'm not an organized guy at all. I tend to be a little bit drifty and a little bit distracted when I'm doing things if I get too much going on at once. So making it small little sub assemblies just kind of helps me keep on track. And I always describe myself more as a technician than an artist. I'm just not very artistic, although I can dream up designs and execute technical things pretty well. I just don't have that little artistic bent that some guys seem to have. So even like dreaming up the name of my railroad. Well, it's going to be Columbia River Crossing, which is not very original, but it's just descriptive of where I'm at and what the railroad is. So it's in Vancouver, Washington, at the Columbia River, where the swing bridge is on the Vancouver side, and that's the old Northern Pacific Yard. Has car repair facilities, engine repair facilities. It's a large switching yard, division point for north and southbound traffic going to Seattle or California, and then eastbound traffic going up the gorge or coming in from the gorge. And most of my Fremo modules, that's what I do, is N-scale Fremo. Most of my modules are based here in Clark or Cowlitz County on the Burlington Northern line, or the old line that was the Shalachie Prairie branch that runs out through Battleground to Shalachie Prairie. It used to run out to a big lumber mill out at Shalachie, which closed a lot of years ago, and then it was abandoned around about 1970 and sold to the county, which took it over because there was a couple of industries. One of them was the Anderson Dairy out in Battleground, and they needed shipments of plastic pellets because Anderson Dairy makes their own milk jugs for distributing the milk. And then there's Bonneville, which is the control center for the power network from Bonneville Dam and several of the other dams around here. And they have railroad tracks leading into their facilities. There's, it used to be air gas, but now it's Lind compressed gases, and they manufacture, you know, nitrogen and oxygen and whatever. The plant is basically about a mile from my house, and it's basically they just compress down, you know, rare gases out of the atmosphere, argon and whatever, and they're not as active. They are a rail-served industry, but they're not as active as they used to be. But I guess last year they just redid all the siding and everything going into their plant, and they had a couple deliveries. I saw some brand new vacuum bottle cars that were spotted on the siding up there. Let's see, what else is there? There's Omega Industries that makes panel track for Burlington Northern. So they make like 40 or 39 foot sections of track for repairs, temporary installation, all of that sort of jazz. There's a furniture warehouse, Vancouver Furniture Warehouse, that's rail served. And then there's a team track for bulk. I think they're doing gravel, but they just have those portable unloaders with the auger and a conveyor that loads it from the hopper into a truck. But they get covered hoppers of gravel or whatever it is that they're hauling. And that's done right out by St. John's Boulevard, right near my house. So, not sure what other industries they have going out there. Oh, there's a feed mill out in Battleground that gets shipments of grain and stuff. And then if you follow the main line north from Vancouver, there's Columbia River Carbonates, which is they get those weird covered hoppers that have the tires on the top of them, and they get crushed limestone, and they make drywall products and all sorts of stuff with that. There's Hamilton Drywall, and they have their own yard and locomotive, and they're in Woodland, Washington. Let's see. Then there's PDM Steel, which gets bulkhead flat cars of steel plate and beam, and they're basically just a steel reseller, so they have structural shapes, tube, and plate that they get in, and they'll cut it to size or whatever. And there used to be a tank car washing facility up there in Woodland, but I don't think they're there anymore. Something else has taken over that. There's also a cold storage right on the main line in Woodland, which at harvest time gets, I've seen 4 or 5 box cars there. Usually about, maybe 5 or 6 cars a week for loads. I don't know how much Columbia River Carbonates gets. They get probably about 10 cars every other day. I haven't really hung out there. I need to, next vacation, go scope the place out and eyeball some of their cars and how much they take in. It would be nice to get a tour of some of these facilities, but you know, the climate after 9/11, I don't know how open businesses are to discussing the movements of their shipments, and I don't think there's anything hazardous that you could make bombs out of in their stuff, but you never know. You know, for rail fans, it's just about the movement of the cars and kind of simulating what they do, even if we don't get it exactly right. So, come out of there. May need a little touch up on my drill bit here. Made it through. Come on out. There we go. Only one more to do. We're doing good. Then I'm gonna have to give a stretch to my legs and stand up and move around. Sitting in one spot tends to make my back get all tense and my butt starts falling asleep. Yeah, my butt farts stalling asleep. That's right. A little dyslexic, okay? So if your butt farts stalling asleep, you know, get up and move around. So I think my wife is hungry, so I may stop the stream and start it back up when I come back to solder some throw bars on. Oops, come on. So you guys look for that and join me then, and maybe we'll get some rum and coke to go with whatever we have for lunch, because that sounds relaxing and groovy. Alright, so there's the last one. Oh, get that guidey bird. And I don't know, I'm a tool junkie. I love tools, so I have lots and lots of pin vices files, sharpening stones, you name it. I find that while you can do things with just the basic tools, having the tools that make it a lot easier sure do make your hobby time a lot more enjoyable. And that's why we do these hobbies, is to just enjoy ourselves passing the time doing little projects. If it becomes a chore where you got to set up a bunch of stuff to get one little thing done, then it's a chore and you're not enjoying yourself, and how likely are you to do it? So, okay, I don't know, I'll check the chat here, and then I'm a little thirsty and we gotta go stretch our legs, so I'll maybe shut the chat down and then take a little break, and I'll come back. Or the chat, the stream. See you later. Nobody in the chat. So, okay. Oh, and you probably weren't seeing half of what I showed you anyway. So, alright. Talk to you later, guys.